So the pumpkins have been taken off the porch and the costumes have been put away for another year. But when attention turns to Friday night, will there be fireworks at St Mary's, or will Villa's season go up in flames? This is Talk of the Trinity podcast.
Until you break down.
Hello and welcome to the Southampton preview edition of the Talk of the Trinity podcast. I'm Baz Barrett. Still not with me is Will Forrest, but don't worry, you will be hearing from him later on in the podcast with his thoughts ahead of the Southampton game through the wonderful power of editing. You can check us out and interact with us in the lead up to the game on our Twitter page at Talk Trinity. You can listen to previous editions of the podcast on our YouTube page, also at Talk Trinity. Also, download and listen to the podcast audio version on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Stitcher, and no doubt a couple of other platforms that I have forgotten about. All likes, retweets, shares, subscriptions, all very welcome. We do appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and let us know your thoughts, either on the Twitter page or in the comments box on YouTube. Happy to canvass and interact with the wide variety of Villa opinions. Just ensure that keep it clean. Don't want to upset our moms. They'd be sad if the comments were too rude. But apart from that, we're always listening out for Villa views, and it's the joys of having such a wide, diverse fan base that we all have our differences of opinion. But hopefully the one thing we can all agree on is wanting Villa to do as well as we can, which we get the opportunity to do that on Friday night against Southampton, 8 o'clock, live on Sky. And there's no other real way of saying or getting around the fact that this is a massive game for Villa. I think we've talked about in previous podcasts how the pressure is beginning to mount on Dean Smith, also on the team as well. 4 defeats on the bounce is leading to some tactical decisions, some player decisions being made. Not everybody is assured of their place. Most notably, Tyrone Mings dropped for the West Ham game on Sunday. He will be back, you would think, in the team on Friday due to Konza being suspended for that match. I think Villa tried to appeal the decision and was unsuccessful in getting the ban totally rescinded. But is that going to be the kick up the backside that the rest of the team need? Or are there further shocks in store in terms of that selection? Will, for example, John McGinn be dropped from the team? I'll go into my thoughts in terms of my predicted started 11 in a little while. But turning the attention briefly to our opponents, Southampton, who are beginning to get a little bit of form behind them. They won last time out away at Watford, following on from close game against Chelsea, losing on penalties at Stamford Bridge. I bet that sounds familiar. And then following their first win of the season against Leeds earlier on in the month and a home draw against Burnley. So they are beginning to pick up a bit of form, whereby they were probably slightly worried at the start of the season. No wins until that first win against Leeds. Not really troubling the scorers too much early on in the season following the departure of Danny Ings. And speaking of Danny Ings, he's not going to be playing on Friday. According to Dean Smith in the press conference, still out injured. Douglas Luiz also out. Traore out. So suspensions, injuries, they say when it rains, it pours. And a few key players for Villa who aren't going to be available on Friday. So of the players who is likely to start or who should start, in my view, where the cupboard is beginning to look a little bare. I think in terms of goalkeeper, I think Emi Martinez, I think for me, although you could say didn't get across for a couple of the goals against West Ham, arguably he was let down by his defence a little, not closing down the shots. So I don't think one, by his standard, average performance does a poor keeper make. And I think he is straight in the team. Right back, it's about cash. We haven't really got anybody else, to be honest. So not really a lot more to say on that. Mentioned Tyrone Mings earlier, probably going to start. Question is who's going to be alongside him with Konza out. Straight fight between Courtney Hawes and Twinzabi, you would suspect. Difficult decision because neither has really put a cast iron claim to the shirt, although a lot of their performances have been in a back three rather than a back two. I'd say in terms, because I think it's going to be an aerial bombardment perhaps from Southampton. Maybe that's been a little harsh, but I think it's going to be a battle. Really, I don't think it's going to be the most classic game of football in terms of attacking flair. Both teams are just going to do what they need to do to get the result done. So I'd play Twinzabi on that basis. Left back, you're looking at a straight shout out between Targett and Ashley Young. Again, a position whereby the options aren't necessarily overflowing for Villa at this stage. I would go for Ashley Young. I think in terms of this is a game whereby Villa needs to get a result. So more experienced head, I think, will be the preferred option here. Young obviously played centre midfield against West Ham Sunday. Wasn't terrible, wasn't great. I think in terms of where he can make more of an impact is on that left back position. Then moving on to the midfield, Sanson is available to be in the squad. Is he going to be fit enough to start? Would you start him even if he was fit? Hasn't played consistently for Villa, and this is a big game to throw somebody in where you're scrapping for a result. So I probably wouldn't play him, to be honest. I'd have him on the bench. And who I would play, I'd have Nakamba in at that defensive midfield role. Again, you know what you're going to get from Nakamba. Solid performance. And I think, it's kind of going to be an all hands to the deck type game on Friday. So I'd have him in. We also have Jacob Ramsey. Smith announced in the press conference that the injury wasn't as bad as first feared after limping off on Sunday, and that he'll be available to play on Friday. I would play him. I think my co-host will probably echo similar views to me in terms of he brings an energy to the team. And I think sometimes you can have the best laid intricate tactical plans. Sometimes you just need somebody to put a shift in. And Ramsey is that player, I think, for Friday night. And then that leaves McGinn. Again, as I mentioned, it could be talk about him dropped. Realistically, no, not for me. I mean, I think he needs to start. He can be a bit inconsistent, but I think he's been one of our better players this season. And in terms of having somebody in that middle of the park who is going to make a difference, potentially be a match winner, I think you need him playing. And international break coming up, I think can leave it to be Scotland's problem if he's not fit to be playing for them. I think we need to get what we can out of him in this big game for us. So I think we need to put club before country here, and I'd have McGinn playing in that centre midfield. Then three up front. Again, it's Ings not playing, so Watkins you'd anticipate gets that starting berth in that central striking role. I would have him there. I mean, he scored on Sunday. Hopefully the confidence in getting a goal will lead to a gradual increase in the quality of his play. I mean, he had a chance against the bar, probably should have scored on Sunday, but you got to start somewhere. And we've been talking about him not getting the goals. And so if he is getting his name on the score sheet more often, then no reason to be taking him out at this stage. Then you're left with the two winger positions. Bidace is fit. Do you throw him in for a big game? I'd have him on the bench. I think he's certainly somebody who's come on in the last half hour, a bit of pace, especially if we're looking to stretch the Southampton defence, or if we are ahead by that stage looking to play on the counter, then I think he'd be a great option, but I probably wouldn't start him. So that leaves those two positions. Leon Bailey, there's been big calls from most, if not all of the Villa fan base for him to be starting for Villa. Played on Sunday. Decent, showed glimpses of what he is going to bring to the team. Evidently, with some more match fitness, I think his contribution will only increase. So he's definitely starter for me. But then do you play him on the left or do you play him on the right? I mean, in terms of, he would arguably prefer to play on the right, but he's been playing on the left to accommodate Buendia, who has been playing in that right position. So do you carry on accommodating Buendia, or do you not put him in this game and play El Ghazi? I mean, I think that's a big decision. And for me, square pegs in square holes. I would play Bailey on the right, and I would play El Ghazi on the left. I mean, I can see that might cause some controversial opinion status, but I think you know what you're getting from El Ghazi is solid performance. And again, I think that should be the theme of the team we play on Friday. We need the solid veterans. I mean, if you can call him a veteran, but I do think this isn't going to be a game for messing around. It's going to be a game for going and getting the job done and just stopping the rot. So that's my starting 11. Is that going to be the team that will stop the rot? Is it good enough? As I said, I don't think this is going to be the prettiest game. I think this is going to be a game just to get through. Southampton are going to be up for it as a result of their recent performances. Certainly a game you rather would have played a month ago before they'd had their first win of the season. But I have the reputation on this podcast has been slightly the more negative one. And when I predict us to win, it usually goes wrong. So it is with a heavy heart in that sense. I think we're going to win. I mean, I do think we're going to pull this out of the bag. I mean, I don't think it's a position whereby the manager's lost the players. We just haven't been playing very well for various reasons. I don't think it's necessarily a lack of effort or a lack of belief in what we're doing. It's just players not having the greatest performances, individual mistakes need to be cut out, and also fitness issues. I mean, the search for playing a consistent team or the first choice 11 goes on. I mean, we're in November and we wouldn't have played our first choice 11 for more than 1 or 2 games this season. So that does have an effect on consistency, and especially when the only consistent thing has been defeats, then it does take a while to turn that round. And noises about Dean Smith this week are beginning to increase in terms of links with other managers, whether that's because of other managers' agents trying to put the word out to try and alert Newcastle for those multi-millions are going to be up there. Who knows how serious they are, but you don't want to be in a position whereby you've lost 5 on the bounce and then 2 weeks of international break, whereby the noise is only going to increase during that period. And most of your players are going to be off on international duty. I mean, in terms of England players, only going to be Tyrone Mings' squad just been announced. He is in it. No place for Konza or any other players who may have thought they'd be working their way into Southgate's forts. Realistically, probably not, based on the current form that Villa have been in. But at least for Mings, it'll be a sigh of relief for him that his perceived downturn in form of being dropped from the Villa team hasn't resulted in him being dropped from the England squad, and he'll be hoping to get a run out for England in at least one of the internationals they've got. But turning attention back to immediate matters on Friday night, as I said, I think Villa will win. I think both teams will score. I don't think it's going to do much for my blood pressure or my alcohol intake on a Friday evening, but I think it's going to be 2-1, and I think it's going to be a late winner in terms of within the last 10 minutes. I think we're going to pull it out the bag, but with a disclaimer that if we do get banged 4-1, then I'm taking no responsibility for me predicting Villa to win. So those are my thoughts ahead of the Bonfire Night Spectacular at St. Mary's. But what does my co-host Will Forrest think? Well, you're in luck because you can hear from him right now.
Thank you, Baz, for leading that on to me. Recording separately again, but some very interesting takes on what Baz thinks will happen in the Southampton Villa game with his lineup there and his score prediction as well. Now, looking at the game last season at St Mary's and also the game at Villa Park, that 4-3 defeat at home, the 1-0 win away, no one would have expected Ross Barkley to score a header. Our key man over the two games, you really have to say, was Jack Grealish. He's not going to be involved this weekend. And the two key players for Southampton were James Ward-Prowse and Danny Ings. Now, Danny Ings, of course, has joined us in the summer, but due to injury, apparently a hamstring injury, that there are also rumours swirling around that he's got a COVID-related absence. He doesn't look to be playing. Well, he's out. Dino said he's out for the game on Friday, so he'll have to wait to bang in a couple of goals at Villa Park when we next face Southampton. James Ward-Prowse is obviously a player that we were heavily linked with in the summer. I'll be completely honest with you, I was really excited by the link to Ward-Prowse, not just because of his set-piece ability. His corners are phenomenal. We know full well what he can do from a free kick with those two against us at Villa Park. And he knows how to take a penalty. Scored them recently for England. Also missed them, but got the rebound. Anyway, he's very good in a two-man midfield, and there are strong stories, again, that Dino wanted to go to a two-man midfield this season. Maybe that's why he wanted Ward-Prowse and someone else in the centre. Was it because he wanted two up front? Has he always been looking to have two up front? Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out. So last time out against West Ham, we saw us revert back to that 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder. Nakamba came in. Nakamba played very well. One of our best players, my man of the match personally. But he is very much that. He's a shield, he's a protector. He does make some rash decisions. He's not the same as Douglas Luiz, who's that deep-line playmaker. And if you're up to date with Dino's presser, Dougie is out of action, as is Danny Ings, as is Bertrand Traore, and we know that Ezri Konsa is suspended. However, dependent on the England squad that's going to be announced today, it's been announced after my recording of this, Ezri may be getting some game time. He certainly deserves, from last season, to be in consideration for that England squad. So, onto the game and onto the positives, really. Morgan Sanson, Jadon Philogent-Bidace, they're both back in contention, as is Jacob Ramsey. Had a full day's training on Wednesday, didn't have any side effects from the injury that he picked up against West Ham. So he's back, and you'd imagine that he'd be starting. This is obviously a very big game, with the rumours circulating that the Villa hierarchy is starting to sound out other potential managers, and the one that's been discussed the most is Paulo Fonseca, former Shakhtar Donetsk manager, and has also done a little bit of work in the Portuguese league. Not surprising, really, when you consider that he was a Portuguese centre-half. Is he the man for Villa? That's a discussion for another day. we've got to get behind Dino. As my granddad always used to say, you support the club. Regardless of who the manager is in charge, you may not want them there, but while they are the manager, you've got to support them, you've got to support the team. At the end of the day, it's Aston Villa Football Club that we support. You don't put in the caveat of, I'm not going to support the manager, I'm not going to support this coach, I'm not going to support this player. We all have our opinions. And I would mention that with opinions, not everybody agrees. You know, you respectfully disagree. You don't always have to be a bit of a twat when you're disagreeing. We try not to be. We try not to be. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm meant to be talking about the Southampton game. It is a big game for Dino. Personally, do I think that this is the game that makes or breaks his tenure at the Villa? I think that this could be the game that sees him sacked if we lose to Southampton, because 5 defeats on the bounce is something that Suarez and Eden will not want. Obviously, they want us challenging and improving on last season. And whilst only 10 games have gone and we've got another 28 games, it sort of feels that with the international break coming up, that if they were to change manager, that they'd look to do it now. You don't just change for change's sake, you change to improve. Dino, I do fully believe that when he gets the team right and he gets his settled team with his settled system, that we will push on. And I hope that he gets the win against Southampton. Going back to that 4-3-3 with the holding midfielder, will obviously be the way forward for him now, I would assume. We mentioned there, Nakamba holding midfielder. Usually I'd put Douglas Luiz in. I think Dino would as well. And he'd be more of a deep lying playmaker for all you football manager fans. So, Dino's there, 4-3-3 against Southampton, and he has to pick his team. He made a massive call before the West Ham game when he decided to drop Tyrone Mings. Talked that Mings wasn't happy about it. Good. I'm glad he wasn't happy. I'm glad he was sulking. Because when he came on, he put in a great shift. He wasn't the best player on the pitch, but you could see that he was disappointed. He felt he had a point to prove. And he came on and did the best that he could in the circumstances that he found himself and the team in. And fair play to Tyrone, because he has been undroppable. He has been one of Dino's go-to men. And Dino made that big call and he got a reaction out of him. This surely spurs Tyrone on for the game against Southampton. And I think he starts in defence. Now, alongside him, we know there's no Ezri Konsa. We don't expect to see a gamble of a Josh Feeney, a Sewells. I might have said your name wrong there, bud. I do apologise. Or a Bogard. We're not going to see that, are we? We're going to get either Twanzebe or Hawes. Does Hawes deserve to be in the team? Potentially he does. But I don't think centre-back's the position for him. And I've had an interaction with a Villa fan who sent through their team. They said they put him at left-back. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's too bad a shout, dependent on who we're playing against and their right winger. But we'll come on to that in a minute. So that really then leaves it for Axel Twanzebe to come in. Him and Mings, they know each other from the season when we came up from the Championship. They're both ball-playing defenders. They're both athletic. They both got a great pedigree. You know, Axel Twanzebe will become a star in the future. Did he get thrown to the Wolves a little bit playing in the middle of a five-man defence with wide centre-backs? Maybe. He looks more comfortable in a back four. So for me, Twanzebe and Mings are there at centre-back with Emiliano Martinez in goal. Martinez hasn't had the greatest of starts, letting 2 long ranges against West Ham, but you factor in that the pressure wasn't put onto those players, that the that there were a lot of players in front of him as well on the edge of the penalty box. He saw the shot late, and he's had a lot going on recently also at home with travelling back and forward to Argentina, which he's done a hell of a lot recently. It's all gonna get to you eventually, though. I don't think it's any reason to drop him. I wouldn't put Jed Steer in ahead of him. I wouldn't put Sinisalo in ahead of him. I would stick with Emilio Martinez. He's very much a captain, a leader on the pitch. So there's your two centre-backs and your goalkeeper. Left back, touched upon it before. I wouldn't go with Courtney Howes for this one, because I think Nathan Redmond would probably cause him too many problems with his pace. Nathan Redmond, we know that on his day can be a very good player, and he's going to have a point to prove playing against the Villa, being an ex-Blue Nose. So who'd you put there then? Matty Targett or Ashley Young are your obvious choices, and for me it's got to be the latter. Ashley Young, not a centre midfielder, can understand why Dino chucked him on against West Ham. Probably wanted that older head, that little bit of a calming influence in the box, in the middle of the park. But really now he's a fullback or a wing back. I put him in. Matty Targett needs a break. He needs a rest. He needs to know that he's not guaranteed first choice left back. There's obviously something there with him. For me, and it might sound daft, but in front of the fans, he just hasn't been doing it really. He's struggled in front of them. His best season, when he got the recognition from his players for Players Player of the Year, was in front of no fans or limited numbers for those last two games. I think that is sort of a bit bigger and, than what people are making it out to be. I do actually think it is a reason for him. I think he gets a bit nervous, and why wouldn't you? We can be a bit horrible at times when a player doesn't have the greatest of performances, but you have a right to express your concerns and your dissatisfaction. But we do also have to get behind the team. So for me, Ashley Young starts at left back. I think he'll handle Redmond more, and I think the dropping Target will have the same impact as it did dropping Mings. It'll give him a rocket up his arse. Right back, it can only be the Polish Cafu. Congratulations, Matty Cash, on your call-up. You put him in at right back. He was fantastic against West Ham. He was a driving force getting forward and hopefully having four at the back again, like he did in the 5 at the back. He can carry on to push forward, get some crosses in, hopefully get a goal or two, get some assists also, but it's got to be him. Now, the midfield 3. And it may not go down as well as some of you would like, but this is my opinion. It's my opinion only. I'd be very interested to hear yours. We had to have a holding midfielder rather than a deep-lying playmaker, and I put in Nakamba. Nakamba to break up play. He played well in the last game. He made one or two little mistakes. He just passed the ball backwards a lot, but he offers a screen for Twanzebe and Mings, who both like to carry the ball out of defence where they can, and they both like to cover the fullback. So Nakamba slots in, plays that old Eric Dyer role when he was in his prime for Tottenham under Pochettino, drops in between the defenders where he can. Or, if needed, he's the one to cover the fullbacks. Marvellous Nakamba gets the nod there. 2 centre midfielders. You've got the choices between Morgan Sanson, Jacob Ramsey, John McGinn. Could you put Buendia in there? Yeah, you probably could. You probably could do. But for me, I would start Ramsey. Seems that he was fit enough to train, got through training. I think he adds an energy. He's brimming with confidence. He's going to run with the ball, get forward. Got his goal against Arsenal. He is definitely a player on the up and one of our shining lights of the season so far. Alongside him, I would do another tactical rest and have McGinn on the bench. McGinn has been hit and miss. He's a great player. He's done unbelievably well for us. But there's times where he's just that bit inconsistent. I didn't think he was at his best against West Ham. I don't think he should be the vice captain behind Mings. I do apologise if anybody doesn't agree with that. I think it should be Conter or Martinez. Topic for a different day. I would put Sanson in. He's obviously ready to go. He wants to prove Dino wrong. The outburst that he had against Arsenal says that. And it's very much a case of Dino being able to say to him, go on, you wanted this opportunity. I'm going to give it to you. Show me what you can do. And if you don't show me in the first 60 minutes, I'm bringing John back on. Or I'm bringing someone else on. You've got Carney Chukwuemeka as well, who wants to prove his worth to the team, wants to get games so that we can really tie him down to a new contract. So for me, Nakamba with Sanson and Ramsey in front of him. Then it's the front three. I don't think... Well, it probably is actually. I was going to say I don't think the striker position is as straightforward as Ollie Watkins starting because he hasn't had the greatest of starts. However, he scored against West Ham. He's going to be feeling confident. You put him into the team with the knowledge that you've got Cameron Archer and you've got Keenan Davis. I'd look more towards Archer first as your substitutes who can come on. Watkins up front, telling him to really get that high press, to try and stay in the central positions, unless he's drifting wide and someone's cutting inside. Left wing, I would go for Anwar El Ghazi. Anwar El Ghazi out on the left, hugging that touchline, but cutting inside where he can. We know he likes the shot. He's not afraid to get his shots off. Can get an assist as well, and he's a positive player. With Ashley Young behind him, those two linked very well in some of the earlier matches this season, Newcastle at home, for example. And they built up an understanding. Let's get back to that. Let's get El Ghazi back in. We get a penalty as well. You know who you're putting it on. Yeah? Or you know who's you're putting on it. Who you're putting it on. Can you put a penalty on to a player? I suppose so. On the right wing, it's a shame, but I would be starting Buendia as a sub and putting Leon Bailey in. Leon Bailey on that right wing, that's where he enjoyed a lot of his time at Leverkusen. Yes, he could play on the left also, but he liked playing on the right, cutting inside and grabbing a goal. We've not seen that yet for us. We haven't seen a lot of Bailey, but when we have seen him, he's been on that left wing, or he played that cam role very much against Chelsea. So let's stick him on the right. Him and Matty Cash could tear teams up down that left-hand side. Southampton's left-hand side, left-back position doesn't get talked about very much. I actually can't remember who their left-back is, if I'm being completely honest with you. But right-hand side, you've got Livramento, who's having a fantastic season. Looks like we missed out on a player there. But you go to the other side of the pitch, it's not being talked about. You get Leon Bailey there, cutting inside, getting shots off, playing nice little 1-2s and really attacking. So for me, that starting 11 is Martinez, Cash, Twanzebe, Mings, Young. Midfield 3, Nakamba Holding, Sanson and JJ Ramsey as the two central midfielders just in front. Trying to get them box to box as much as possible. Right wing Bailey, left wing El Ghazi and striker Ollie Watkins. If you need to change it up as the game goes on, you've got Archer to come on and move Watkins out onto one of the wings potentially. Jaden Philogent's Bidace and Buendia could come on and get onto the wings and create for us. Let's give Philogent's Bidace a chance. You've also got Carney Chukwuemeka and John McGinn there who can come on and hopefully change the games, rocket up John McGinn's arse, as I say. And then defensively, Hawes and Target are your cover. You've also got Aaron Ramsey, who may be in the match day squad, maybe in that starting substitutes bench. He may be on that substitutes bench. We'll see, won't we? Anyway, I'm positive about the game. If it's that team, I'd be incredibly positive. But I wouldn't mind seeing Philogent's Bidace or Carney Chukwuemeka thrown in. Why not give the kids a chance? If they're good enough, then they're old enough. Put the pressure onto the likes of Sanson. Get him into the team. Get him playing. And say to him, come on, do your job, keep McGinn out. Give those players who have been coasting a little bit and haven't been reaching the levels that we expect them to reach a position on the substitutes bench. And when they come on, or the next time they play, they'll do so with more determination than ever before. I think if that's the team, I do feel that Southampton could still cause us problems. They played that 4-4-2 with Armstrong also dropping behind Adams, very much like Danny Ings tried to do last season. They've got a few players out though. Redmond can be a thorn in your side, as can James Ward-Prowse. But I'm confident, and I think with that team going against Southampton, despite their recent good run of form, we get a win. And I'm going to go for 2-1 Villa. We are shipping in goals at the moment, but hopefully we can shore that up a little bit more. I don't think we concede any more than one. 2 goals for us. Ollie Watkins bags one of them, and the other one, I wouldn't be surprised to see El Ghazi getting it. Though I'm not gonna tie myself down to those goal scorers, but I do think we get the win. Anyway, comment below if you're listening on YouTube at Talk Trinity. Talk of the Trinity is what you may want to type into the search engine now. You'll see the logo. You're obviously listening now. A like on our video is much appreciated as it gets us more exposure, as do subscriptions. Share our channel with other people. It is very much appreciated. Any subscriptions as well, we always look to follow back. Like the video, comment below. Let us know what your starting 11 would be. Let us know if you agree. Let us know if you disagree. Do so respectfully. We'll be respectful back to you, of course. Also, let us know your score prediction. Follow us on Twitter at Talk Trinity. You probably found the video from our Twitter page, but if you're not following us, just give us a follow. We'll follow you back. Comment, reach out to us. Let us know what you think we're going to do against Southampton and what the lineup should be. If you're listening to us as well on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon or Stitcher or any of the other podcast host providers, we do really appreciate you listening to us. We love giving our thoughts and insight. We also really enjoy hearing yours and letting us know what you think. It opens up our minds at times to what you're saying and to our thoughts and feelings. And we also like the banter where you're saying, now you're wrong, this is what I'd do. Everyone's got an opinion, and we enjoy listening to yours also. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for all of the follows. Thank you for all of the subscriptions also. Thank you for the downloads of our podcasts. We really do appreciate it. We've got an exciting podcast lined up next week where we're aiming to talk with Dave from the Irish Lions, with Liam from the Qatar Lions, and also Russell from the Cayman Lions even, who's going to be at the game against Southampton. Russell, I hope you enjoy it. It's a long coach trip from the Cayman Islands. But anyway, enjoy the game, get behind the team, and let's hope that afterwards Villa Twitter is a very positive place. You heard Baz Barrett at the start of the podcast. I'm Will Forrest. We've enjoyed providing this to you. I've said that many times now. Listen back to us, keep an eye out, say hello, send through your predictions and your starting 11s. I've said that many times now as well. I think it's time to blow the final whistle and say, cheers, Tar, thank you very much, and up the Villa.